Kids, this is what I used to do before I got married. I used to hang out with these guys.
The beat be shake, somebody scream to stop the party. Take a minute, set up, you're on the vacay. Yeah, you're in a room for the booster, yeah. Get your ass up on the dance floor. If this group don't hit you, don't head for the door. Let loose, no use in acting hardcore like a bag of Doritos. Don't slow your roll, don't have control. Be somebody tonight. Let's go too far, let's buy the bar. Be somebody tonight. The fun has just begun. There's nothing like a summer sun. Inhibitions on the run.
I'm Andy, I'm the singer, and I play guitar.
Hey, I'm Greg, and I am the drummer for the Martini Shot.
I'm Brooke, and I play bass and sing.
I'm Rob, and I play saxophone and keyboards for the Martini Shot.
Hi, I'm Steven. I used to play the sax, and now I play guitar, and I record all the audio for the Martini Shot.
Hi, my name is Brian, and I play trumpet for the Martini Shot. I also run all the logistics and promotion, and I hold the honorary role of positive vibe technician for the band.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason the universe put us together to make great music and be best friends.
The Martini Shot started in Alamosa, Colorado, while I was a junior in college. I was a music major, and we had a bunch of friends that I think decided, hey, let's get like the best trumpet player, and let's get like the best drummer, and let's get the best bass player, and everyone in the department, get them all together and put together a rock band. I had been hosting open mic nights and things like that, doing solo work in Alamosa for the prior couple of years. And one theme that I think you'll see throughout this is that a big part of the Martini Shot is connection. I remember there was a point in our first maybe year and a half that our trumpet player, who founded the band with me, was going to leave and move on to different adventures. And so as I was thinking about who I would put in that position, I thought back to my very first day of being in college. My resident assistant at the time, one of the first people that I met when I went down to school, his name was Brian Person. So we called him, and the rest is history.
I was a fanboy of the group. I'd go down to Pueblo every weekend and watch that group play and see my friends dance, have a great time. I was excited to be a part of that group. But I did tell Andy, I said, listen, I'm really into teaching. That's my career. That's what I want to do. If this thing takes off, then I'm out. You know, then I don't want to be a part of the band. And I'll have to find another trumpet player. 20 years later, I don't teach anymore, and I'm playing this great group.
I recall being at a place called Axe Haven Music and buying my very first guitar. My very first guitar was sold to me by a guy named Brooke Mead. So Brooke was well known throughout Southern Colorado as a very good drummer. He's a great musician all the way around, played all kinds of different instruments, but he was really more known as a drummer. And as he was kind of seeing the Martini Shot here in town, we're playing a bunch, he came up to us very ceremoniously one night at the Green Light in a pretty cool outfit. And he said, hey man, just let me know if you ever need a drummer. And just so happened that we were losing a bass player. And I thought, you know what, I know I know Brooke can play bass. I know he has in the past. So I gave him a call and I said, hey dude, we need a bass player. And Brooke says, but I'm a drummer. And I said, yeah, but I need a bass player. Could you play bass for us? And he said he hadn't played bass in years, but he decided to give it a shot.
So one night, Rob and I were playing a gig, and we were in mariachi costumes, but really we looked more like Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa. We had full bandoliers and 6 guns, and I can't remember for the life of me why, but we were dressed that way. And we went into the Green Light, which is a local bar that Martini Shot was playing in regularly on the weekends. And I walked in with Rob and jumped up on stage and started singing immediately, like with Andy. And I think that pissed Pizzle off a little bit. I think he was upset that like somebody just jumped up on stage. We're in the bathroom on break, and Andy's in the bathroom, and I just walked up there and went to the urinal next to him and said, hey man, like if you're ever looking for somebody to play in your band, I see what you're doing here, and it's a pretty awesome thing, so I would love to be a part of it.
So the first time that I ever had an encounter with Rob and Brooke didn't go so well. 2 guys come up dressed like the 3 amigos with guns and everything, and Brooke comes up to me and he's like, line 6, huh? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so you don't like tone, right? And I was like, I mean, it's all good, right? So that was my first experience with them. And then the next time we needed a bass player, that's when we went over to his apartment, and I was like,
This guy.
This guy calls me Sizzle Pickle, doesn't like 311. This guy's never gonna be in our band, ever. I'm still on the letterhead of the Martini Shot as a, founder, but I think I'll go ahead and let you guys put him in.
Okay, thank you for that. I think he'll be
pleased.
pleased.
He's a good guy.
I've known Rob for many, many years, probably so long that I can't remember the first time that I really met him, but the first time that he really made an impression on me, I remember walking into a club and watching him play, and he just blew me away. Like, his ability to play saxophone was just incredible, and he's probably the best musician in Martini Shot. He brings something to the table all the time that is just unique and special, and if you listen to our music, you can tell that he has a unique way of phrasing and a unique way of soloing, and I think all of his solo work on our albums is just top-notch, amazing work. He's just an amazing musician, an amazing guy. He's one of my best friends in the world. We always jump into the car and we go to the gig, and we've been doing that for so long now that I can't even remember like the first time we ever did. So I've always told Robbie that instead of us going off to die somewhere alone in an old age fashion, that after one night, after we've been gigging, I'll decide what night that might be. And on that night, after our gig, I'm gonna look at Robbie, and I'm gonna take his hand gently and squeeze it, and I'm gonna drive us off a cliff just like Thelma and Louise.
I joined the band after one of my bands was breaking up, and I had known Andy for a long time, since he was a kid. Really, he used to come in and sit in with our band, and of course Brooke. And Brooke was part of that band that we were in together called Sandman and the Apes, and as that band was breaking up, Brooke was able to move on as the bass player in Martini Shot, and he brought me in later as the sax player. So I entered as a bari sax player and keyboard player. I've known Greg for a long time, and the fact that it worked out that Greg could come into the Martini Shot was a real blessing. We weren't sure because I know that he was tied up with another band, but things worked out that that band too was kind of going back and forth as far as their longevity and what would happen. I can't say that I'm responsible for bringing Greg in. I think it was a group decision. Everybody just was wanting him to be a part of the group, and it worked out.
One of the first memories of Martini Shot for me, Southern Comfort was playing our last gig. A group of guys showed up, and there was Andy, I think Sizzle Pizzle was there, I think Brian was there. And so, you know, I think they had all heard that the band was breaking up, you know, so they kind of, you know, we went on break, or it was after our set or something like that, and they, you know, they kind of pulled me over there and started talking. Hey, dude, we need a drummer, man. Are you interested? And the funny thing is, though, without even hesitation, I declined. You know, but you know, because I didn't even think about it. I just declined. I said, nope, not interested. So, you know, so I ended up going home, and you know, talking to my wife Anna, and I just told her, hey, those guys from Martini Shot, they hit me up to play with them, and I declined. And then she looked at me and she goes, you did? I said, yeah. And she was like, well, they're kind of up and coming, aren't they? I said, yeah. So she started telling me, you know, are you sure you're not like interested in playing with these guys? I was like, well, it does sound kind of interesting. I mean, they are up and coming.
Stephen Falsetto I've known since he was in the 5th grade. Now I don't want to do the math because I think I was only in the 9th grade. But no, I was his teacher, and I could tell he was something special.
To say that each of these guys has been paramount in my development as a musician is probably an understatement. I've been listening to them since I was 11 years old. So I have very fond memories in the 5th grade of taking my first instrumental classes with Rob as my sax teacher. I asked him to teach me how to play the theme to Star Wars, which I still have the manuscript where he wrote it out. And then sometime during that first year, he handed me a CD that was the first Martini Shot album. And we listened to it on the way to school, but back from school. My mom still has that same copy. And then I would go see him play, and I just thought that it was the coolest thing in the world, that these guys here in my town had a CD and I could put it in and listen to it. Fast forward a couple years, I started taking private lessons with Robbie, and he eventually asked me, he said, hey, we're doing this little benefit at Axe Haven Music. Would you like to come and, you know, sit in? So I took my horn down, my parents took me down there. I think I was like, I don't know, 13 at the time. And yeah, I got to play. There was nobody there, but it was the coolest experience in the world for me to be able to sit up there and play with those guys. So anyway, fast forward a couple years later, in the same time I had a growing interest in guitar, and a lot of it stemmed from that first album. I just wanted to learn how to play those songs. A friend of mine was taking guitar lessons from Ryan, Sizzle Pizzle, and so I started, I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm really trying to learn guitar, I'd like to take some lessons. The Martini Shot used to do a gig in Manitou Springs, and so again, they invited me to come sit in. I brought my horn, and Ryan said, why don't you come over and play a couple songs on guitar? And so I think I played like Sweet Home Alabama and, you know, a couple of easier songs. That was the first gig that I played the entire show with the band, and so I have very fond memories of that. There's a big conference in January here in Colorado called CMEA. They have an all-state jazz band for high school. So you had to turn in a CD. You would record yourself playing these predetermined pieces they would send us. So we went over to Greg's house in the garage, and I know he says that it was a small space, but it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen at the time. So after doing that, I started to experiment a little bit at my house, you know, with just a laptop, and I used to have one of those little beige desktop microphones you could plug into the computer. So I'd, you know, put it up to my guitar amp, my saxophone, and I'd start doing multi-track recordings. My degree is in recording. I really do think that it all ties back to me going to do that all-state audition at Greg's house, hearing how he put those tracks together, and then just hearing all the great work that those guys did with the first 2 Martini Shot albums. Anyway, we were coming up to the summer that year, And I told Andy, I said, hey, I'm coming home to work and, I'll be around Pueblo over the summer. If you guys would have me, you don't have to pay me. I'll come sit in. I'd like the opportunity to play with the band. Anyway, it wasn't very long. Fast forward a couple weeks. We were going to a gig. I was riding with Andy and Greg, and Andy said, hey, we talked about it, and we're just gonna put you in the band, I think, is what we're gonna do.
The Martini Shot is actually a symbolism for completion and for celebration. So the very last shot they do for a movie is called the Martini Shot. It has nothing to do with alcohol, even though a lot of people think that it does. It really is just symbolism for a completion and more than anything, a celebration. Actually, Steve Bogucki was the one that came up with that. He said, if I'm ever in a cool rock band, I want to call it the Martini Shot. And I think we were on our way to Las Vegas for my 21st birthday. And he said, yeah, we should call the band the Martini Shot. And we got out there and we were at the Hard Rock Hotel. And I remember the first thing I saw when I walked into the gift shop at the Hard Rock Hotel was a Hard Rock shirt with an olive on it, like a martini olive. And it was like, yeah, I think that's what we're gonna call it. So, the Martini Shot.
I don't mind if you wanna have a good time, if you wanna find a new line to walk a while. I can't find the words to tell you what I want to.
We ended up booking a show at a little place called Weekends, kind of right there on the main drag in Alamosa. And after we played our first show there, we ended up becoming kind of the house band on Wednesday nights of all nights. We picked all kinds of different tunes to play. We hadn't really taken the dive into originals right at the very beginning, but we were picking all kinds of fun cover tunes from all the way back into the 50s till into the early 2000s at the time. So I remember the big hit back then, whenever we would play, was Sweet Home Alamosa. Not Sweet Home Alabama, but Sweet Home Alamosa, where there's nothing to do except play music.
Name is Kevin Mormon, one of the original members of the band. Lots of neat stories, long nights, speeding tickets, car accidents, broken gear, lots of fun. Some of my best friends in the world in this band. I remember Andy and I sitting down and figuring out songs and trying to come up with what we were gonna do and what kind of band we were gonna be, and putting horn lines together. Andy would literally have to play every note to me and I'd have to write out the letter. If you don't read music, this doesn't make sense, but I would write out D, D, C, C, G, G for each note and for each chord. And I played piano at the time. Put this big 88 key keyboard in my car and have to push the seats all the way to the front. I remember thinking we were rich. We were making 80 bucks a night per person, plus our bar tab was free. I met my wife through this band. A bunch of us got married through the band. Not to each other, but to our wives. My last gig with the band was June 27th, 2002 at the Greenlight. It was a Thursday night. The next night was the 28th, and it was a Friday. It was my rehearsal dinner, and I got married on the 29th. My best friend in the world, Brian, took over the trumpet spot that weekend, and I'll never forget it. 25 years later, and still the best friends in the world. Thanks, guys. Love you.
We started playing in this band a while back, and members have come and gone. But Kevin and I had a lot of the beginning ideas coming up into this, so I just want to thank him for everything he's done for us, and what he's done for me, and what he's done for you.
You know, you can't tell the story of the Martini Shot without the one and only Sizzle Pizzle, one of my very best friends, Mr. Ryan Walter. You know what, you were 18 or 19 years old?
18, I think.
He had graduated high school early, and so he had time to drive down 2.5 hours from Colorado Springs to Alamosa on a Wednesday afternoon to play a Wednesday night show.
And then I was working at a travel agency and didn't have a whole lot to do, so I would drive down every Wednesday night. My brother Andy was in the band, he was the drummer, so that's how I started, you know, driving down there, and then it just turned into a every Wednesday thing for quite a while.
And he'd come down and he'd bring his guitar and his amp and everything. He'd set up and he'd play the whole show with us. He wouldn't just sit in for a couple songs, he would play the whole show with us. And it was instantaneous. We knew right away the minute that he started playing with our group that, okay, this guy's for real. So in 2001, we ended up starting to play in Pueblo a lot more. We played at a place that everyone in Pueblo knows, Smitty's Greenlight. And it got to a point where Smitty being so generous with having us play there all the time, we were there every single Saturday night for a long time.
And that was back in the day when there wasn't even a stage. It was a bar in the back, and he would put a piece of plywood over the bar, so we would have to bungee cord all of our amps down, tighten them down, because when we would jump, the plywood would go like that. Everything, I don't know how we didn't fall through, but it was every Saturday night. We had a good crowd every Saturday night, especially for Pueblo.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was a thing, and we felt very lucky, but we were excited, you know, and we were hungry, and it was fun. And you could see the evolution even with Craig Smith, Smitty, the owner. Just the stage all of a sudden became a real stage because he was starting to really believe in what was going on live music-wise in our town.
All of us went to school down in Adams State, and we had a hell of a time breaking into this town, and I'm from this town. And we had one heck of a time during the break-in, but the one guy that really gave us the chance was Greg Smith. And so, first of all, we just want to thank him so much for getting us up to Pueblo, Colorado. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Smith right there.
My name's Greg Smith. I've owned and operated the Greenlight Tavern for about 40 plus years. I was fortunate enough to have them play at my establishment multiple times over the years. What always struck me most about the Martini Shot band and its members was their passion and dedication to the music, the lives they touched and changed over the years. I don't think people realize how difficult it is to get up on that stage and do a show for 3-4 hours. And the time that goes into it, countless hours of rehearsal and practice. I always admired them for that. I have a great story. Like I said, I was fortunate to be able to perform with them, if you could call it that. One day I said, you know, you should let me sing that song. And he looked at me and he said, do you even know the words? And I said, yeah, I do. And I pulled out a sheet of paper, actually, I have it in my pocket, from 20-some years ago with the words on there that I handed to him. I found it. So time passed, you know, and Andy would call me up for that song. And one evening I was downstairs in my office and they were performing. I could hear them standing at the bar, and they came on break, and Andy came up and he goes, oh man, I'm sorry, we did your song. And I looked at him and I pulled out a cocktail napkin with some words written on it. I said, that's okay. I have another one I could do. And he shook his head. It was always a memorable experience, being able to perform with those guys and have them in my establishment and watch them grow as musicians and touch all the lives that they have. It's quite an amazing story, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
It's like I memorized this siren, and from that I went astray. And I wish I could say I miss you.
Our first audition up in Colorado Springs, I believe, was at the Ritz.
Yep.
And the Ritz was a cool little place on Tejon, downtown. The stage was right in the very front, so when you walked into the bar, the stage was right there. We were the first things you saw. If you were driving down Tejon Street, you could take a look. You would look over there and you see that a band was playing with the lights and instruments and all that sort of thing. So we thought this was a great place for us to really break into the Colorado Springs music scene. But in order to do so, we had to audition, and we had to audition on a Thursday, and if they liked us, they would keep us for Friday and Saturday. So we drove up there after work. We had to work the next day, I think, on Friday morning, but we drove up and played a late night on a Thursday night. But it was a special Thursday night because there were some elements involved.
Yeah, it was a blizzard.
Yeah, it was crazy. So here we are, like driving to this gig, and I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna die. And we got there, and of course, it was us and the staff, right? And we played basically for no one because it was just the wait staff that was there at that point. I mean, we're lucky that we even got back.
I think it was us and the wait staff and our parents. I know
right.
my parents came.
Definitely.
Your parents came.
Family.
But then as the night went on, we noticed that people were kind of starting to gravitate towards the Ritz because everywhere else was really dead. So we ended up actually having a few people there, and they were dancing, having a good time. And they said, yeah, come on back tomorrow and the next night. And before even the end of the night on Thursday night, they said, oh yeah, you'll be in our rotation.
Hi, my name is Paul Erickson, and I was a bartender at the Ritz Grill, downtown Colorado Springs from 2003 to 2015. My first memory of Martini Shot was in 2003. I had just started there, and I remember the staff talking about this band, Martini Shot, that was getting ready to play at the Ritz. And it was 2 weeks out. So it was way ahead of time, but there was so much excitement around them coming. I didn't fully grasp how big of a deal it was. When that weekend came, it was so busy that I couldn't even keep up with the crowd size. And there were 5 bartenders behind the bar. I definitely had to have my running shoes on.
That was back when you could go downtown and see multiple live bands. So you could actually bar hop and watch other bands, which is just not like that anymore. Like, yeah.
There was 3 to 4 places within 2 blocks that you could have gone and seen a band.
Greg's first gig was at Southside Johnny's, and it's so vivid in my mind. I'd love to hear your perspective on that, Greg.
Yeah, well, I remember being really nervous because a lot of songs were thrown my way, and we only had a couple of rehearsals over at Brooke's apartment. And so the gig came up, you know. I remember Mark was still in the band. This was like the one and only gig that I played with him. And when we walked in to set up, I mean, I was like, wow, this place is packed. I mean, it was packed, man. I mean, you know, so, you know, we got done setting up, and the night went by so fast, man, because to me, I mean, I was still nervous because I was like still, every song that was coming, I was kind of just winging it for most of them, you know, and some of them I knew, you know, but a lot of eye contact with all the guys, you know, because I wasn't that comfortable yet, though, you know, so, but I do remember, I turned to Andy, man, he's like, dude, man, it's packed out here. And he looks at me and says, don't get used to this, you know, because it's not always like this. You know, but the funny thing is, though, every gig we played after that was like that.
This place is something special. And there's no doubt that the Martini Shot truly loves the one and only Southside Johnny's. Make a little noise for Southside Johnny's.
Hi, I'm Molly McFadden-Phillips, and I was a bartender at Southside Johnny's. You just reminded me a lot of my dad's band, and just the fact that you're all super talented, very entertaining, and truly have fun together, and are truly brothers on stage. When Martini Shot would play, on the weekends especially, we would have people show up at 3:30 in the afternoon and grab a booth and hold it
this is when the band was really, popular. People had found out who we were, and people were coming out and they were telling their friends.
I don't know. I've just had so much fun watching Martini Shot through the years, and always, like, even if I had a really bad day, they could turn it around for me just by playing, listening to their music. So, very grateful.
I was writing songs as a solo act, for which I think all of us have done long before. And I think on our first EP, there's a couple of tunes that I wrote just, before the band was even around. And then really the collaborative work started happening when Ryan got in the band. And This Highway is the perfect example of that. The first song that he and I wrote together, it started becoming a very collaborative process. And, we have kind of noticed that a lot of it starts with Ryan coming up with an idea, a lick, a chord progression, whatever it might be. And then I come in with some lyrics, and then there's a lot of collaboration that happens after that.
It could be something as simple as just recording something on my phone, just with my voice and just a riff. Andy will come in and then write some different chords to the verse and then just go from there. But from start to finish, it would be something very, very simple and then just turn into a huge song, which is really cool, really unique.
One of the experiences that I remember was having a writing session in one of our friends' cabins out in Westcliff, and we had the whole weekend there, and to collaborate, to practice songs, to write songs, and just a beautiful scenery to do that in.
What a gift that they gave us, because it was such a creative place. And
it was a special experience all the way around. Ryan and I went out and wrote probably more than half of Love for Life.
Yep.
On the porch in a brisk kind of morning. That's one of those memories that I have that I'll never forget. That just the two of us going out there and trying to figure out what we wanted to do for that tune, while everybody else was out doing something with another person in the band to make a different song come all the way to life.
And every time I hear Bruntry and I hear that solo come up, I just think about where I was during that time. I was in my room taking a nap. And your amp is set up like in one of the rooms.
Yeah, it was downstairs.
It was downstairs, so that's why I heard it so vividly, man. But every time I hear that song, I just think about where I was during that solo.
Oh, me too.
It totally reminds me of that time.
And I just got to crank that amp because it was out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, we were playing till 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and nobody's around, so you're out in the middle of the woods. And,
speaking of like early morning or somewhere late at night, I'll always remember for So Much Trouble, we were listening to Brian play that sweet trumpet lick that's like all mariachi, right? Mm-hmm. And we were coaching him and producing him.
I remember that.
And that's something that's really cool about our band, is that like we do kind of like say, I think you could do better. You could do a better take. You could do better.
It's nothing like recording and then having 6 producers stand behind you as you're recording there.
It's a little intimidating, let me tell you.
A little bit.
So that album was very interesting. That album was my kind of introduction into the band. I was brought into the band while we were making that album.
Yeah, between Greg and Steven, we've never had to go to a real studio and have anything be done. We've always had their expertise and their creative process.
During this time, I was going to school up in Denver, and I had cooked up this crazy idea. So we had every student in the recording arts program could check out 4 hours of studio time per week. And there were 4 or 5 different studios on campus. There was one that was the big studio, Studio A, and it had an SSL console that was every bit of $100,000. They had every microphone you could imagine. You just had to check it out. So my idea was, well, if we're working on this album, maybe I can get the guys to come up and we can record. Obviously, we couldn't do the whole thing because it would just take too much time. But we could record 3 or 4 songs. So a couple of friends that I was going to school with, we booked some time and checked out every mic. I'm sure the other students that day were so mad at us. But I checked out every mic that we had. And yeah, we set up in there and it was pretty cool.
I think DIY is cool because it takes me back to my punk rock days when I was a kid, and we just put a cassette tape out and hit record.
She loves me like the first time that I saw her. The moon was bright, the stars were bright, a line for me to find her. I need a light.
I remember it well. I was at a baseball practice for my son, and I just, with work and, missing games and everything, life happening, I had to make the tough decision to leave the band, which, at that point, I had been in the band for more than half of my entire life. So definitely one of the toughest decisions I ever had to do. I called Andy first, and it was tough, still is tough, but.
So it was a Saturday afternoon, was at a soccer game for my daughter, and got a phone call from Sizzle Pizzle, and kind of just said, hey, you might have thought that this was probably coming, but I think I'm done. I've got too much going on in my work life and my home life. The kids are getting older. I need to be there for all their events, so on and so forth, and just pretty much said that he was leaving the band. But I did tell him, I said, dude, you're going to have to be the one that calls everybody and tells them.
After that, I called everybody else. Definitely difficult conversations with everybody, but.
He said, hey, I'm just, I'm taking a minute to call everyone and just let them know that I think I'm done. I think it's probably time for me to kind of call it with the band. It's a lot to take in. This band is really a safe haven for me. It's something I look forward to in the daily grind of life. So I started to really worry about that a little bit.
I remember pulling over into a Safeway parking lot and answering his call, and I remember how I felt was I felt, I get it, he'd been in this band 20 years, and you go through all those emotions because it's such a big part of my life as well that, I didn't, I was upset, but also understanding and, angry, kind of go through all that, and then worried, like, do we have a band anymore? Is this going to be something that is going to be part of my life?
For me, when Ryan left the band, it kind of caught me off guard, So I got it and I understood, but I was shocked, I didn't see it coming, So, it was a really short phone call, he kind of, and I totally understand his reasons. I had a feeling of just being, like thinking that, wow, it's over.
Well, I think the big thing about Ryan leaving the band was that it just really, he was just such a personality and a force within this band.
Yes, absolutely.
And so important to the history of the band that the thought of that piece being gone was huge for all of us, I think.
Yeah, and he was a huge part why all of us were always laughing all the time. He's a funny dude, man.
He still is.
Yeah, he still is. So.
Of course, like everyone else that day, I received the phone call, and I just remember him being super genuine, honest about the whole thought process that he had gone through, and I had nothing but love for him, and when he said that it was time for him to step away, I totally got it. He has a family, like, you know, many of us do, I mean, obviously, but more importantly, I think we had been through so many gigs, so many years, you know, for him to step away, that was a gracious moment for him, and I felt it was honorable for him to do so, and I had no ill will, and wished him best of luck. And the weirdest thing was that I had no fear for the band, like, carrying on, because I knew that we would do that no matter what.
So I actually felt differently. I was very nervous after Ryan had called and we were, you know, finding out that our guitar player was about ready to leave. I didn't know where we were going to go. Obviously, we have this very close-knit, tight, family-like kind of band that's been together for 2 decades and more so at that point. And I was nervous, and I really felt strongly that I did not want another personality in this band. Maybe a little while afterwards, Stephen had called me and suggested that maybe he just move from saxophone over to guitar.
Like I said, I knew he played guitar, but at the time when I first heard the news, it didn't even dawn on me at first. You know, I was just thinking, wow, this is it. So I was quite scared, actually. You know,
It was shortly after the conversation that I had with Ryan, it started running through my head. Well, I had been doing acoustic duo gigs with Andy at this point for a couple of years on and off. Since I was 13 years old, I wanted to play guitar in a band. And now I felt, well, the only way that we can do this is if I play guitar. I know the songs, I know the band, I know the guys. It just made sense. Like I said, I always wanted to play guitar in a band, but then to be presented with this opportunity to play guitar in like this band, I can't say how much it means to me. I don't take it lightly.
I cherish everything, you know, that I had with my time with the band. It was greatest times of my life, for sure. You know, when I called them my brothers, that's for sure. They're definitely family. I consider them my family. And when you play with people for over 20 years, 3 times a week, 50 weeks a year, you get close. And, you know, definitely got close with everybody, but miss these guys, and, you know, definitely some of the best times of my life.
Ryan quit the band? Oh.
Hi, I'm Christina Marshall, and I am the lead singer / frontwoman of a local band here in Colorado Springs called Soap Dish. My connection and the way that I know and am influenced by Martini Shot is a bit of a story. I want to say it was New Year's Eve, going into 2006, a long time ago now. So my friend reached out to me, and we decided to be roommates, and we moved into our own apartment in early December. And because of this new forged friendship and just having turned 21, newly legal to go into bars, we decided that we were gonna go to Southside Johnny's for New Year's Eve. I just thought it was so cool. There was this dynamic band, just so fun, so interactive. They were like 20 years younger, you know, so they were moving. And they really set the tone for a New Year's Eve party. And I mean, heck, I was this new adult to Colorado Springs, and what a way to bring in the New Year's Eve, you know? What a way to bring in the new year. So we leave Southside Johnny's and we start walking down Tejon, and my roommate says to me, "Hey, I need to let you know something. I don't want you to be weirded out if you see me bring a girl home to our apartment, because I'm bisexual. I just needed you to know that. And, you know, I don't know if it was the alcohol or if it's the way that Martini Shot made me feel a part of the community, connected, like myself, authentic, truly myself. I danced without abandon. I screamed all night. I probably dropped a few drinks on the dance floor. And I don't know if it was just the bedrock and the foundation that they provided that night. But as soon as she said that, she inspired me to say something that I think I had always known my whole life. And I told her, that's okay, because I think I'm lesbian. And it was the first time I'd said it out loud. It's something that I always felt in my life, but hadn't ever explored or had the courage to say out loud. And so, yeah, I never looked back after that night. I never looked back. I've lived out loud ever since, and I've felt comfortable being myself. And was a big night for me. Martini Shot never left my brain. I would have never pictured myself that night, that New Year's Eve, at Southside Johnny's ever fronting my own band. And one thing that I strive to achieve whenever I'm performing is to make sure that nobody in the room feels invisible, that they, you know, are a part of the community no matter what, even if it's just for 3 hours, no matter our differences, political, religious, our creed, our backgrounds, we are one. We are together, and we just share that joy. And that's all that matters in the moment. And, you know, I could see why Martini Shot seemed so fun and energetic that night, because they were in the moment. They were creating authentic moments for people, and they were themselves. You know, what a wonderful thing to just be you.
Hi, I'm Rob Smith, the other Rob Smith. I've been lucky enough to watch this band from its inception, and lucky enough to know most all of the musicians before they formed this band. When I think about Martini Shot, I think about their longevity, and I think about how they managed to do that. I've been playing in bands my whole life. They're professionals, and they're professionals in more than one way. The other thing I would say is that they're creative. They've never stopped growing. Obviously, when you watch them on stage, you can see their love for music, and it goes farther than that. I don't think they could have possibly gone 25 years without their love for each other, too. So I'll tell one quick story about the other Rob Smith. He was my student when he was in middle school. Before that, I had a mentor named Steve Comey who nicknamed me Robbie instead of Rob, which I didn't really care for. Along came another Rob Smith who wanted to take saxophone lessons from me. So I pinned that name on him. He became Robbie and I became Rob. And then as Martini Shot grew in popularity and he grew and grew, he became Rob, and unfortunately I became the old Rob. So.
My name is Craig Allen, and I am one of the lead vocalists in the Pueblo County High School rock band. And I am one of Mr. Mead's students in his rock band and advanced choir class.
My name is Douglas Platt, and I play guitar. Describe him as a teacher. He's really kind, but it's like tough love. It's all a really open environment, and it's all awesome.
Mr. Mead as a teacher he's hard on you, but you learn a lot when you're in a class with him, and he's also very kind. So he's always just striving for excellence from every single student. I have a blast every time I step into his class. Mr. Mead's awesome. I've learned so much from him, and I think his involvement in Martini Shot has definitely given him experience that has allowed him to teach us the things we need to know. So not only am I grateful to Mr. Mead for everything he's done, I'm grateful to Martini Shot as a band for everything that has allowed him to teach us.
Mike Bikina, and I've known Andy since he was in high school and then a student of Brooke Mead. I actually don't meet Brooke Mead until my sophomore year, and I was in what we called ourselves a loser punk band. and we were like, okay, one of us needs to be able to sing decently, so let's join the choir. I believe it was my junior year. I go out to watch a show for Martini Shot out in Pueblo West. I want to see this live. So I go up to Andy and I'm like, hey, can you play Catchy Song? He goes, yeah, if you play it with us. It was my first big introduction on a stage playing like rock music for a good sized crowd. I had done the garage bands and stuff and doing that, but that really gave me that itch. It led me to become a music teacher and just continue to do even acoustic shows now that I'm out in Kansas City. I'm still following that passion, and I've had some students of mine at some shows that in between sets, I actually let them come up and I let them play, and that's all because Andy let me do that as well. So I owe most of my career really to the Martini Shot and Andy and Brooke specifically.
All right, so my name is Christian Hawkes, and I'm a former student of Andy Clementi. The reason why I do what I do today is because of Andy Clementi. I was getting ready to take a step back from music in general. And I was playing in the back practice room in the Old East High School. He was like, hey man, I'm looking for men to come and join my advanced choir. My first response in my head, you know, I'm a dumb 15-year-old kid, and he says choir. I'm like, dude, you're so full of shit. Like, you don't, no. And, you know, he's like, no, just come audition. I remember I went home and I told my mom that I made LJs, and my mom's on the phone and she's just like, oh, that's cool, honey. And then it takes a second for her to process. She was buffering. She's like, hold on a second. She's like, you could sing? Sing me something right now. And I'm like, why? No. But in the midst of all this, my sophomore year was really when I started getting over my stage fright. Andy and Ryan would do acoustic sets at Park East at the time. They went from Park East to Primetime. And Andy was so cool about it because it wasn't just me, it was his other students who sung and played as well. And we were able to get out of, at least myself, speaking for myself, I was able to get over my stage fright and actually be in front of people. I have now performed full time. I wouldn't be able to do that if Andy didn't just give me that little push.
Yeah, my name is Dan Wiley. I was one of Andy's first choir students when he started teaching at East High School. At the end of the year, he was like, hey man, we're recording a full-length album. We kind of want a trombone on it for a few songs. You want to do this? And as a high school kid, I was like, oh my God, this is like, I don't even know who this band is, but that would be great. I was like hey man, we need extra like brass in this thing, so can you jump in? Always. So I have to credit Andy for really being like, you know what? Music is something fun that you can share with people and get this to be the thing you do. And it's still what I'm doing today. I was really, really fortunate to start as a student, become his friend, get into this band and, you know, help out in that capacity. But then to work as colleagues, we worked for 5 years together at East High School. And those are some of the best years. The joy that I found playing in this group. Like, Martini Shot is family, and it shows in the passion of that music in every moment on the stage. So, yeah, would not have traded that for anything.
On behalf of all of us, we're just so thankful for all the support that you've given us over the years. Our friends, our family, fans out there, whether you've downloaded our music, whether you've bought a t-shirt, maybe you've listened to our podcast, shared a social media post, all of that has helped propel us and keep us going for all these years. We're so very thankful for you giving us the opportunity to keep doing this and keep making music. What's next for the band? Me personally, I hope that we're continue doing new things, maybe new music, new venues, new opportunities, new musical experiences out there, and I hope that we continue to do that.
I hope that we're able to continue doing this band for a long time. It's really meant a lot to me, and I love playing guitar in the band. Funny enough, after all these years, we still have some of the coolest things we're ever going to do coming up in the future. I hope we get to write some more, record, and just keep on going.
What I'm looking forward to is just continuing to do what we've been doing for the last several years. I mean, for me, as long as I still feel good, as long as I'm still healthy and healthy enough to play and my body allows me to do it, I want to keep doing it. So just want to keep going.
When I look at the future, I think back on the past and where I came from. And one thing is that my grandfather was a musician, and he played up until he was in his early 70s with bands. And I always thought that that was amazing at the time when I was younger, that he was still doing that. And now I kind of get it as I get older. So I'm very happy and feel blessed to be doing this with people I love, and just keep going to see how long it will last.
So what is the future like for us? Personally, I'm looking forward to doing this as long as I can, for as long as I live. I'm ready to do this for the duration of my lifetime. And as long as I'm healthy, I'm going to play bass in this band, and I'm going to have a good time. That's where I'm at.
I think in the end, through music, through life, through everything, I love these guys. And I'm here for it, no matter what. We're not going anywhere.
The more they stay the same, laugh just a little too much, and I talk just a little too loud, and we'll drink just a little too much in my town. I will swear because we like to cuss.
Hey kids, it's been a few years. A lot of things have changed, but one thing still remains the same. I still hang out with these guys.
My eyes, tell me how far can you see? Can you see the dream? Is it coming true, or is it just a fantasy? You look at me and stare, I never quite knew why you cared. I never quite knew why you might want to win for me, though I kinda like the jealousy. It's like a memorized desire, and from that I went astray. And I wish I could say I miss you. I bet you'd say the same too. It's like a memorized desire. Look into my eyes, tell me, can you see what I see? The definition and the vision of a hero lies in me. You look at me so cold, not everything you touch is gold. Not everything is gold. You want my one for being for me, though I kinda like the jealousy. It's like a memorized desire, and from that I went astray. And I wish I could say I miss you. I bet you'd say the same too. It's like a memorized desire, and it's all I know to do.
Yeah, it's musicianship, and it's everything that we put into it, and we're lucky to have come together and be able to produce the product that we put out there as musicians and have fun doing it. But I think a big part of it, going through a lot of hardships throughout the years with these guys, personally, and being there for each other when they go through them too, is a big part of it. As you get older and progress, that there are things that happen in life, and we're always there for each other.
It's like I memorized this highway, and from that I went astray. And I wish I could say I miss you. I bet you'd say the same too. It's like I memorized this highway. I wish I could say I my head. I just wanna wish you well, wish you well, wish you well in your head. Look into my and I'm not sticking around. The wall has rotted, it's burning to the ground. Searching and searching, there's something to be found. The clock is ticking and I'm not sticking around. No one knows where it has gone. It fell through the cracks. I did mine, now you do yours, but you can't buy it back. Watch waste or find, but time's a wasting in this big time. To make or buy, but time's a wasting. The clock is ticking and I'm not sticking around. The wall has rotted, it's burning to the ground. Searching and searching, there's something to be found. The clock is ticking and I'm not sticking around. So many smiles, forgetting which one was mine. I'll pick my favorite one and see what else I can find. That may have gotten me by, but this one's showing some teeth. Leave the others behind. Watch waste or find, but time's a wasting in this big time. To make or buy, but time's a wasting. The clock is ticking and I'm not sticking around. The wall is rotting, it's burning to the ground. Searching and searching, there's something to